Welcome to another episode of Star 42. This is Michael.
And Jace. Glad to be back, man. It's been a few weeks.
It's been a few weeks. Okay, for those who are not watching, Jace did not throw anything. Okay, there it is. Okay, now we can really get started. Thank you.
Now we can start.
Now we can start. It's been a very few busy weeks, but before we get into anything, I really have to apologize.
What for?
So my wife was listening to some of the podcast episodes, and she's a therapist, by the way. So from the levels at that. And she noticed that when we were talking about all the events going on in Minnesota, you were talking about your stuff, and of course I chimed in and kind of threw in my stuff with it. And she was just like, Jace was talking about some very important stuff in his backyard. Why are you just talking? Why don't you shut up and listen to him? I mean, she's said it a little bit, probably more drastic than that. And you know what? She's right. I think I oftentimes get excited of my own thoughts and everything. I don't always listen. So first of all, I'm going to apologize.
Totally unnecessary. We all have opinions, and I appreciate you apologizing.
Hear that? Hang on. You said not necessary. Hear that, Lavana? When you listen to this, maybe he said not necessary.
I mean, if I had a problem with it at the time, I would have brought it up at the time. Or if I had a problem with it afterwards, I would brought it. But it doesn't matter. The point is those topics were very heavy. They still are heavy. They still are ongoing, regardless of what people are saying. And there's not much that I can do about it here. So I keep myself busy with other projects.
Yes. And I have a project to talk about as well that is really making me rethink vibe coding as well. That's another thing I forgot to.
Ooh, I'm excited to hear about this.
Yes, well, we'll have to get into that as well. But
we'll save that for the end. So you'll only find out at the very end, folks.
It's not anything major and crazy, but it's just...
Oh, it is.
Well, it's vibe
Big
coding.
revelation. Slobodnik's new view on vibe coding.
Who knows? Maybe. But anyway, needless to say, my ongoing shift is to try to be like, all right, I'm going to try to listen more. It's not going to work, but I'm going to try.
That's like the advice of... Aaron Burr to Alexander Hamilton in the Hamilton musical. Talk less.
Mile more. And you know what? I like that advice, honestly.
Yeah, it is good advice. I definitely sound smarter when I speak less.
Yes. Well, I'm trying to remember who said it, maybe Socrates. A wise man knows what he says, a fool says what he knows.
A wise man, what did you say?
A wise man knows what he says. A fool says what he knows.
Oh, yeah. Because if somebody just says what they know, they don't say it in the right context.
Correct. And then I think there was something else. Maybe it was Abraham Lincoln that said, better to be silent and thought of a fool as opposed to opening your mouth and removing all doubt. Something like that.
Those are all interesting and proper phrases. I like those things.
Yes, I do too.
Well, let's dive into it. I don't want to keep the audience waiting. I know I've been waiting for a bit. They probably only just saw the last episode last week because we stagger them a little bit, and that's totally fine.
Yes, also known as my pathological demand avoidance that doesn't get them out quickly.
That's right. The last time we were on, we were talking about sales kickoff and a whole bunch of other things.
Yes, and the craziness of sales kickoff. And hang on real quick before we even get into that much more. What's your status on knowledge? Are you going?
I'm not going. Well, unless I haven't talked to my bosses about it. I'm contemplating spending a little bit of my bonus and going anyways. But I'm officially with work, I'm not going. So if I go, it's on my own accord. And I don't know if that'll fly or not. I haven't checked. This is the first anyone's heard about this other than my wife. So we'll see.
Okay. To be honest, I don't know if I'm going either. Every year I tell my wife, God, it's so exhausting. I think I'm going to go next year. And then the next year comes and I'm like, they're asking me to go, or customers, or I'm presenting, or I want to go to get my coworkers there. And so I often end up going.
Well, we don't have to go to Knowledge. We can go to some other event.
Knowledge.
I mean, there is Knowledge, but there's not an in-person component for Knowledge yet. I have no news on that.
But the last thing, talking about going to conferences, I do get to go to the Nvidia conference in March.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Go work the booth. I know.
Where is that? California or Las Vegas?
San Jose. I'm excited for it because from an AI perspective, look, Nvidia is they're the centerpiece of AI these days, right?
Right, because of the
And I've talked
infrastructure.
about this before. I've known Nvidia back in the 2000s ish,
Yeah.
earliest 2000s, where they bought 3DFX, who I loved as a chip maker, but I kind of forgive them. But so for me, it's kind of like, oh, this is great because now I finally get to be like in the room where it happens. So I'm excited for that. I'm going to go work a booth, and I think I have to do some 15-minute presentation, some theater thing. I don't know, but um, I'm excited for that. So now we should probably get into the actual topics we're going to talk about, right?
Right. I think we just rapidly just cover them, we touch on, we're going to hit this and this and this. And then at the end, we'll hit that thing we just mentioned that is like your vibe coding opinion. I want to hear it because I'm all about it.
Yep, absolutely.
So what do you want to hit on first? Or do you
All right,
want to just
first
light
thing,
topics?
we gotta pick on the person I call the Oracle, Uncle Bill,
Uncle Bill.
ServiceNow. He just
Yeah.
bought stocks for like 3 million.
You know what? I was telling my wife about that. I said, I have this thing that tracks the SEC filings that ServiceNow does, like everybody should have. And I saw that Bill McDermott had to file something that he was making an acquisition of 3 million shares, common stock shares, executing today, February 27th.
All right.
So
now, for historical references, this is not the first time he's purchased ServiceNow stocks with his own money. Do you know this?
I did not know this. I mean, I went through all the SEC filings. So I don't know if he's had to file every time. I don't know what the rules are around that, but I'd be actually curious to know what those are.
Well, I don't know what the rules are either. I do know that since obviously he's CEO, he's got to file things, and whenever you hear in the news about ServiceNow had its earning calls and this CFO was like unloading whatever 1.2 million of stock, um, you got to remember all that stuff is like pre-planned selling usually. Like it's not like they're like, oh, we're doing some secret deal and stock price is going to drop, so we're going to sell now. It's all planned and filed and
Yep.
it's not like they're running the country and making policies that affect stock prices that influence them. No one, I think, does that, right?
I mean, there might be some, but I have no idea.
I was more tongue in cheek. Needless to say, when he started in 2019, and I always kind of make the joke of like Lord of the Rings, I was there, Gandalf 3,000 years ago, because I'm one of the older people.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember when he started, like maybe a couple weeks in or something, the news came out that he put in $1 million of his own money into ServiceNow. And so I was kind of looking at that. And I think like the article I found with it, like the stock price at the time may have been like 278.
Sure.
So if you factor in the split and the drop of the stock recently, whatever, I mean, last year he probably had what, maybe a 3.5, 4x on that investment. Now maybe went to 2x.
I mean, yeah, it's still, if he had a 275 with the split, that's 5 ways. That's like $30. It's still at least 4 or 5 times what it was. But that's saying he didn't sell when it was higher, and that's saying he didn't
That's true.
buy as he went. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. No, I know that. But he did make quite the statement of, hey, I'm coming to this company. I am putting my money down.
Yep.
And then
That's
to me,
fantastic. That's awesome.
yeah,
I love it when somebody's like agenda, their persona is all in, because it's like, it's not like they're a character, but it's
yes,
like, you know that Bill represents ServiceNow. There's no conflicts there. He's all in.
he's all in.
Yeah.
And I think this purchasing the 3 million, what he probably did was he probably sold when it was high and then he had extra money and then bought 3 million, maybe something like
Maybe.
that.
Who
Who knows?
knows?
Point being though is I think the big part about it is him making the statement to be like, look, stocks are down. There's a SaaS apocalypse or whatever of SaaS software supposedly going
I mean,
away, whatever.
his quote was, "There's no better time to buy."
Yeah.
Like that's what he said on, I think it was Mad Money or something. I
One of
saw
those,
that
right?
somewhere.
But I think my point being is with the company and the shift to AI, I once again, I've said this before, like I think there is an AI bubble. Like you hear about these companies basically selling all to each other in a circle, and Nvidia being one, part of that
One
bubble.
part of that. Yep.
But I still will say I don't think ServiceNow is as involved from the bubble perspective like others. And once again, it is because it is still a workflow platform. And yes, it's shifting to do a lot of AI. Okay, fine.
If AI becomes a bubble and it blows up and people determine that it's not worth it, and ServiceNow realizes that this is a big waste of money and time, ServiceNow still has value. The customers that ServiceNow has are still going to use ServiceNow.
Yes.
Just, you could say the exact same thing about SAP. Do you know who ran SAP?
McDermott.
Bill McDermott. I'm not saying that SAP is a great product. I mean, maybe it is. I don't have a lot of good things to say about SAP personally, but I use it. My relatives use it at their businesses that they work at higher levels of management, and like, it's fine, right? But it's not going away, is my point. It has sticking power. So, I mean, I will disclose here that before the split, I spent, 5 figures on stocks that I had in a couch cushion because I'm like, well, I'm gonna whatever, and I bought ServiceNow stock. Now it's down 40%, but I don't think it's going to stay down. I think it's going to go back up.
So you're an owner now.
I'm an owner.
I need to get you a sweatshirt or something. I got you a shirt though.
You got me a shirt somewhere. I have it somewhere. I don't have it
shoelaces.
Right here. Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, no. So that happened. But I found really curious. We're going to transition to our next topic that the audience doesn't know about. I found it really curious, the timing of his purchase and the timing of the MoveWorks announcement of the, I called it like the bots for sale, but it's actually called the autonomous workers or something.
Yeah.
Where they had some higher level folks from MoveWorks, the MoveWorks acquisition, and some higher level folks in ServiceNow talking about these level 1 service desk engineers where they have like the tool calling capabilities of like troubleshooting Wi-Fi and network devices and resetting passwords and like categorizing incidents and this kind of stuff. And the premise was, to my understanding, please just tell me if I'm wrong. The premise was something to the effect of, let these bots do the work to let your humans do the important work.
Yes.
Right?
Now, for those who are just listening, what you don't see is I just shared one of my screens. And
this is an old page.
The old page. And so years ago, I used to run like a blog. I did a lot of blogging around ITIL and IT Service Management, you may have remembered. And I don't know if you can see it, but I have this article here that talks about automated intelligence. Now, I incorrectly called out saying Google probably has the advantage. And I wasn't totally wrong in that concept, because what really drives the value of AI is data, right? And Google, of course, is probably the best steward of data in general. And in it, I basically am saying how with all the patterns of AI and everything, there's going to come a time where, AI is able to learn what people are doing and just automate automatically and everything. I don't know if you saw the date on this article.
I do. It says July 25th, 2013.
Yes. So I have to throw this out here because I try to bring it up. We are now moving into that realm, and ServiceNow's announcement, I think, fits in with it, where they're trying to just get to say, hey, can we do more autonomous work, like to your point, so those repetitive tasks that would show up as patterns really could be done automatically.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it just seems like OpenClaw beat them to the punch for the personal compute space, right? And that's cool too, right? It's awesome to see everybody doing the same things, to see if there can be value added. What I'm curious about is, how will this be represented in the business? How much will this cost the businesses to use? I don't expect any answers, but like, these are just the thoughts in my mind. How is pricing calculated? An insider was sharing me some pricing in details, and I won't share that here, but I'm never surprised anymore. No, it wasn't you. It's some other insider. I don't share names, and I can't share sources because it would probably expose. But at the same
and for reference, Jace has been in the ServiceNow community for
ever.
longer than I've been. I've been like 15 years. So
Almost as long as Fred.
Probably, yeah. So point being is, a lot of people.
Yeah. ServiceNow started in 04. I started working in ServiceNow in 07. So, but that all being said, like they're trying to see what sticks, and I'm excited to see it. But that's all I really have to say about it. It seems interesting. I doubt I'll be able to see any usable things like this in a PDI. I'll have to talk to account reps to get things set up to see it. And then it'll probably be pre-canned demos. Like,
so I was talking about this recently with some coworkers about that of automated IT. And so think of it this way. You're trying to automate like a level 1 customer service rep, or in this case, maybe a service desk, right?
yeah.
And when you think about what that person does in that chair, that if the person calls or contacts you and you put their name in and all the information comes up of, oh, here's their asset, here's the services they're entitled to, here's, things we could do, what's the error message? Okay, we're going to run automated log collection of the asset or something. They're all the things that have to be in place in order for that person to do their job, like having a decent configuration management database, having services defined, having, automation available to run scripts. The kind of things that a lot of customers, at least who I've worked with, don't have. They're always trying to get there. It seems like it's always a constant uphill battle to get it. And AI is helping for sure. And I imagine the autonomous worker is also going to be the exact same thing. If there's no configuration management database, if there's no automation tools, if there's
Right. But I mean,
nothing,
today, those companies that don't have those tools, what do their help desk agents or service desk agents do?
they ask a
And you
lot of
turn it off,
questions.
turn it back on again. Can you
Yeah.
tell me the serial number so I can look it up in this other system? And like that'll be the connections that those agents will have to use to be useful. And if
Yes.
those agents can't do those extra steps when systems aren't hooked up, then those agents are gonna fail the expectations that ServiceNow has set.
Well, and ultimately what will happen is those agents, if it doesn't have all the automation, all the things like I talked about to really be impactful, it's just going to be a glorified large language model. It's going to ask you questions and collect information. And you know what, that may be okay as well, right? Because, I finally started to have it where I had to call, I got a new washing machine a few months ago. I had to reschedule the delivery. I had to call Lowe's and went to a automated agent. And normally, that's been around for years, right? Normally you hit star or something till you get a real person. Finally, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to tell it what I want to do, reschedule. And sure enough, it actually worked. I'm like, I need to reschedule. Okay, we're going to reschedule delivery when. I told him, like, okay, you'll get a text message. I'm like, wow, a telephone virtual agent actually worked.
Right. And like
So
the tech behind that wouldn't be that complicated.
you would think, but I think it's the large language models that have been greatly improved over the past couple of years where I say what I want, it's able to put the neural network together and to get the appropriate outcome
Yeah.
from trained models, right? Like you could,
Well,
you
you
know,
can give it a set choice of these are the outcomes that you have. This is what he said. Which one of those does it fall into?
well, and that's part of it as well. But I'm
Yeah.
going to pick on ServiceNow. When the ServiceNow virtual agent came out, whatever years ago, six,
Yeah.
7 years ago, I don't remember. It was always like a scripted conversation. We have to use, first it was with, here's keywords that
Yeah.
will trigger this scripted conversation, and then it's doing something, which worked okay. And that's kind of what I
And
thought of those.
I think the virtual agent stuff came from that Clue acquisition.
Clue, yes. Clue acquisition, you're correct.
QLUE. Yeah.
Yes. And it worked okay, but even when they rolled it out, like me as an employee, it didn't do much because they needed people to try it and say, well, this is what I want it to do. And then eventually improved with like natural language understanding so it could have a better time to say, oh, what do you want? Oh, let me kick off this topic. But the conversation was still scripted to a degree. But now with large language models, it is a way higher level of AI that, number one, doesn't have to train your data. Like
Right.
predictive intelligence was always kind of a challenge because it had to train the customer's data. And guess what? Not many customers had good categorization or had the correct CI selected.
Yep.
So, but large language models are different. You
They are
can
different.
train it, bring a model, and now it's working where it's not just running predefined conversations. It's more like, all right, I'm taking what you're wanting to know. Let me run through my neural network. This is the understanding of it. With that understanding, here's the thing in ServiceNow to get it. Or, oh, here's the question I asked to get information to record a ticket. And
Yeah.
it's just a whole different way of thinking. So we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. But, I just kind of find it interesting that, yeah, now we're talking about getting autonomous agents, and I'm still going to hold with the message to say, hey, look, we are not saying anything like other companies that said, hey, get ready to lay off 4,000 people.
I mean, they're not saying that, but they're sort of saying you can purchase this thing or you can hire headcount, is what I see.
Yes. Yeah. But I think most customers, at least I've worked with, are saying, look, we're trying to grow a company. We need to automate as much as possible. We don't have the tools necessarily to automate quickly. Can we use AI to do that? And then the same kind of thing of like, great, if we have virtual agents that can do some of that level one work, can you now retrain your people to take on more difficult cases?
Right.
And,
I think
look,
companies are going to really show the colors on how this works. Because like some companies are going to take this as a way to reduce their headcount.
I think
Right.
so.
And some companies are going to take this as a way to not require new people to grow.
I think so.
Right. But what I'm fearful of is companies will stop hiring people who are junior.
I
Like,
think so.
yeah, that like those are my thoughts on the whole thing. Like, you
And
don't.
I hope that's not the case, because I hope what people also need to realize is as we have the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, there is a large amount of the workforce that are going to be retiring. Baby boomers, Gen X is now starting. And so, and by the way, people aren't having kids like they used to. It's too expensive. So
I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'll take your word
numbers are
for it.
going down no matter what. No matter workers, and just by basic demographics, not only is it going to, it's going to get harder to find good talent. And I'm hoping the companies, and this is the messaging I give, is to say, look, it's going to be harder to find people. Use autonomous agents to once again do the level one work, but try to up, the skills and talents of your current people, because you're going to need them in the future.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, at one point in time in my life, I was a lowly patient escort, and a help desk manager took a chance on me. I didn't have a college degree, and they're like, "Oh, you said you can do these things. You found this bug in our stuff. Yeah, we'll give you a shot on the help desk." And I flourished. Right?
yes,
If yeah. So it's an interesting time, to say the least. Man,
it is.
all these topics feel dark today. I don't like this.
I
Do you
didn't
have
mean
a
to get
happy
them
topic?
dark. I'm trying to be positive. Like, look, please, companies, don't do mass layoffs.
Yeah, but we're saying it
Keep
like
your
that, and
people.
that's negative.
Well, that's true. That is true. Sorry. Hey, AI is going to make people. So, all right, here's kind of another shift to AI. What I've also found out, so I've been really like jumping in on AI now. Like I've got Claude up and
I
Copilot.
have a challenge for you.
Yes.
I know it's a conflict of interest, but you should try on a PDI, not your work thing. Try my Get AI on a Box. It's easy peasy setup.
I'll try
Just
it.
give it a go.
I'll try. I'm curious. I'll try it.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's go off on this tangent with PDIs. I've had my PDI for several years, and I have it where, hey, my instance itself has been around for a few years, and so let me show it here. Let me get the right one. All right, there we go. So you see this, please reset your instance, to be able to use vibe coding.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
Well,
I don't click on that. I click on the top right where it says start building.
yeah, but yeah, when I go into my instance here,
I don't see
let
it
me,
if you click it in your
oh
instance.
wait, hang on, let me
I just see
switch to the
your one.
right screen now. Boy, they are really good at protecting the content here. Let me go to my instance now. Green, which one?
So it says start vibe coding. Are we approaching the end?
No, we're not. This is something totally different now.
Oh,
But look
okay.
at this. Here's my so they're saying, get a new instance if you want the agent builder. But look, here I am in the ServiceNow, and guess what? It's here, build
Nothing.
agent.
Yep, build agent. Yep.
So I'm like, okay, do I really need to get a whole new instance? Because I see this here. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I'm gonna have to play with that. But anyway, that was a whole tangent with PDIs and thinking, I don't know if I need to get a whole new instance. I'm gonna keep mine for a while.
Yeah.
On some of the topic of the financial stuff, at least, like, so Bill McDermott's buying ServiceNow stock. ServiceNow stocks dropped in the past year. Okay, fine, I'm still good with that. But Salesforce had their earnings call, and I guess they did really well beating the street.
Okay.
Something like beating it by like 26% or something. It was pretty high.
No, this is after Benny Hoff, the CEO, was like, "Hey, we don't need these developers anymore. Let's get rid of them." And then 6 months later, just kidding, please come back.
Yeah.
And then now this earnings report. Like, this is my timeline in my head. Is there any other major events in there for Salesforce?
The only other thing was like Salesforce buying a bunch of stock back also.
Okay, so
ServiceNow was buying stock back. Salesforce is as well.
When a company buys a stock back, doesn't that also sort of increase the price because it reduces the amount of common stock that's available?
I guess so.
I don't know the logistics of it or the economics of it.
Look, when it comes to the stock, most of it is, to me, a scam anyway. Like, I think under principle,
white label casino.
Basically, yeah. Look, when Elon Musk can tweet something about, X or about Tesla, and suddenly the stock shoots up just because he tweeted something and he can get away with it. How is that not a scam? Right?
It's definitely an interesting world we live in.
Yes.
I don't know how else to say it without being crazy.
But anyway, I mean, what I wanted to point out with Salesforce is, because I noticed, there goes my dog. The Salesforce stock, of course, started to go from really good earnings, but so did ServiceNow.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been the whole thing of like the SaaS apocalypse of, AI replacing SaaS tools.
The whole SaaS apocalypse, right, is all the SaaS stocks are down, even though the SaaS products have great earnings. Didn't ServiceNow report like a 20% year-over-year earnings?
Always.
Recently?
ServiceNow's always reporting.
No, but even with that reporting, they were down like 10 or 15% or 20%. Like, it's a crazy amount that they were down recently. But
yeah. And once again, the
stock market does not reflect how well a company is doing. It just reflects how much people are willing to pay for common market stock.
Exactly.
So as long as if you keep those things separate, I think you're fine. Like, I put that same nugget in my head with like I read Ready Player One, and when I watch the movie, I have to realize the movie's going to be different because they're entirely different things.
Yes.
And you're right, the book is better, but the movie's really good too. But
if you see them as good,
if you see them as separate things, they're even better.
They are. We've got autonomous workforce. I think, like I said, I think it is my 2013 vision.
Realized. It only took 14 years.
I emailed Bill McDermott like, hey, Bill, I wrote about this in 2013, right? Like, while, just saying, or you want advice, I'm here.
I mean, does he reply back to you?
I get replies. I mean, I'm sure he's got a team of like 15 people give replies, and I'll give him credit. Like, I've emailed him a few times and he's replied and they've been, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, all right, dude, cool. Thank you.
Maybe I should just shoot him an email, see what happens.
I've shot an email to like Fred Luddy before, nothing. I think I emailed John Donahoe, also nothing. But hey, I will say this: I'm sure he's got a staff who's doing a lot of the communication because he's always all over the place.
We could take a podcast and just talk about the CEOs of ServiceNow. Like, I wouldn't mind diving into like the history of and like where are they now and what happened, because it's very fascinating to me. Maybe next time.
That's a topic for next time. But shifting topics a little bit, even talking about AI replacing things, I know you heard this, but I'm going to ask a question to start the topic. Have you heard of Echelon AI?
I have heard of Echelon AI. They actually reached out to do a speaking thing at Knowledge last year, but unfortunately I had already closed topics. But they had a booth. They were there. It was cool. They were the first group that I saw produce a model context provider server. that's available on GitHub. If you go to github.com/echelon, I think it's -AI, you can see
No,
their model context provider server you can install. It runs on Python. It had like 40 or 50 different actions or tools it could run.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm aware of and I know of their stuff. I've seen it. I haven't seen their like product demos or any that kind of stuff, but
well, they do have a launch video out on YouTube, and it shows a little bit of kind of the use, but it's kind of more in a marketing capacity. But for those who can't see my screen because I'm sharing the website,
yeah.
um, Echelon AI, echelonai.com is all about saying, hey, we've got AI models that you can basically plug in your requirements or stories or whatever, and we will basically build it for you. I don't know if it's hooked up to the instance or what, if it's touching the instance.
I mean, I remember he had a LinkedIn video where he showed when ServiceNow had their build agent challenge, they uploaded a video showing that his good thing could just build in global. So
okay,
if you want to make catalog items or whatnot in global or wherever, like I believe they're just using the table API, but I don't know. I haven't looked under the
they
hood.
could be. I mean, look, if you know the tables, um, you can do a lot, and that's the
Yep.
great thing about ServiceNow. But
And there was, speaking of this, is unrelated sort of, that whole build agent in ServiceNow is dependent on the Fluent component of that new thing, which you
yes,
and I
we've
have
talked
talked
about
about
that
some in the
before.
past. Fluent just got an upgrade 2 days ago. I don't know if you saw this, where now you can define your flows in Fluent.
Oh,
So I haven't seen it and I haven't checked it out and I haven't asked anybody, but I would guess that if it's not in it already, Build Agent will be able to build actual flows.
see, and I'm not going to say, once again, safe harbor, I'm not in product management. I may have heard that the text to flow wasn't as to where some of the product should be, but they were focusing on the whole build agent for the flows. And incidentally, since we are on the ServiceNow IDE, which has build agent, I also did notice, I tried this a few weeks ago, that now you can import an existing scope into Fluent or into ServiceNow IDE to have Fluent applied to it. Whereas I know one time we talked on a podcast episode, a few episodes ago,
Yeah.
that it said it could, but it couldn't do it. Now
Yep.
it can.
I'm still like, is it really worth me rewriting whatever? I know Chris Nanda has some very opinionated things about this. I don't know if you know who he
Well,
is, but he's very technically smart and he's a big fan of the Fluent ecosystem.
Well, I'm just saying, if you've got a scoped application, you can now pull it into Fluent and it goes through and processes it and applies it.
Yep. That's fantastic.
So that's a win in my book.
It is. It is a win because it lets people work with the tools that they've had and try tools that they don't have yet.
Yes. And I'm starting to rethink the ServiceNow ID because when it first came out, I was like, man, this is like pro code, pro code. I
Yep.
don't even want to touch it because it
Yep.
defeats the purpose of no code. And at the time, I was focused more on no code, low code. But now that I'm in it with Build Agent, I'm kind of like, I'm starting to warm up to the concept of there needing to be more pro code. So
is this your change on the no, that's cool. I like it. I'd love to see it. I'd love to show you some other tools that are like Build Agent outside of ServiceNow and get your opinion on those. That'd be interesting to see.
yes.
Maybe in
So
another time though.
maybe. But needless to say, my last topic that I do want to get into is I've been getting into vibe coding. I'm finally starting to warm up to it.
Oh
And
no.
so I've got this project I'm working on, this concept. I think I maybe have talked to you before. Basically, the challenge I've always seen with ServiceNow is that it is a web-based application for the most part, right?
Yep. I mean, there are
And
server components to it, and there are things like mid-servers let you do stuff you can't do on a web
yeah,
server, but
but
yes.
generally it is a web accessed page.
Yeah. Yep.
And I always felt like there was something lacking because there wasn't that tight coupling of like the user interface with the product, like an Apple, for example, or even Google and Chrome, right?
Sure.
So I was like, okay, my idea, and if anyone listens to this, all five of you, my idea is I ultimately would love to say, hey, why can't we build a ServiceNow dedicated browser and use something like Chromium. But think about it. If you are logged in to a browser, it connects to the instance, pulls all your settings, even the menu and everything, right? And now you've got this place where you can have a tightly coupled experience with the ServiceNow environment and the user. And more importantly, you can build, browser apps that you could say, all right, here's users that get them. And here's like a dashboard that's always there in your browser. And, you could use it for tighter encryption, maybe endpoint encryption, whatever. Of course, that level of development is well beyond me right now in my life.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, let me walk it back one. Let me just start something with saying, hey, could I maybe build like a little app that says Michael or maybe this role can go ahead and we have a plugin and Chrome plugin extension. As an admin, I can say, hey, I want to build like a little workspace builder page. And Michael logs in and maybe he's an admin and that pops up for quick access or whatever he wants. And so that's why I've been vibe coding. If I go back to sharing here, I've been sharing a lot today generally. And it's not much right now because it's all about, hey, trying to where is my here it is. All right. So I've been using Windsurf.
Yep.
And
you're building a Chrome extension. I can
yep,
tell already by the files. You've got a
like
manifest
Chrome,
JSON, a pop-up HTML, a pop-up CSS. Those are the things that when you click on the extension button on the top right, that's the thing that comes out and it opens up if it opens up that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also
I may have built a Chrome extension or two. I may not.
Yeah. And then also like, you get the machine here, and I don't know if you can see all this, but basically like I told it, hey, create a saved extension setting labeled ServiceNow instance URL. And I've just been literally telling it what I wanted to do, which is the whole point of vibe coding, but I'm getting used to that. I've talked about this before. I'm like Gen X. I was neglected as a child. I'm hyper independent. So it is a huge step for me to say, I want to tell this thing what I want it to do and expect it to do it for me.
I have so many things to show you.
That's a huge step in my life. I'm sorry.
That's cool. I think it's cool to see what's out there because like these things are not perfect.
No, they're not.
When you build them like you are, you may be building it with flaws that can open it up to other problems, right?
Well, and that's why I'm thinking, hey, if I make
But for personal projects, learning how things work, that's really cool, right?
Well, and to kind of show it here. So I basically have, do I have the app here? I think I have it. This ServiceNow app where I can create little Chrome extension apps.
Sure.
And, the idea with it is either A, I'll put HTML in, or B, maybe I'll point it to a workspace or something. But I don't know, can you see the Chrome extension? But I basically have it set up.
I think you have to share your screen to show that if you want to show it.
Hang on, let me see if I can share my whole screen. Stop sharing.
Chrome extensions like select drop downs in browsers are special for sharing.
Yeah. Oh, here it is, entire screen. Well, that's what I wanted. But look, all right, here we go. Wow, screen within a screen within a screen. All right, cool. But now I've got this nice little Chrome browser. It doesn't do much right now because it just does a REST API call and then gives me back the response.
Yeah.
But it's set up where I can log out of my instance. I can log into it. And you know what? I'm like, this is exactly what I want. I want to, as an admin, be able to say, here's something I want to give directly to the user. And if I can use the ServiceNow data to create that and then push it to people, that's great. And to me, it's such a simple concept, but then yet very powerful. And I'll take you a great example of this. The ServiceNow menu, it constantly is like disappearing on me and refreshing.
It's the heavy caching that they do.
Yeah. I'm
you
like,
can disable it. There's an option for that, but
good. I got to disable that option anyway. But needless to say, like, I'm like, you know what? I just want to have my favorites right there that will take me places. So it is a small project.
I want to say things that are not helpful, but I will say it is fun to learn that way.
Well, say that's not helpful because I'm learning too.
No, so I was just going to say, bookmarks do the thing you described. And
yes, they do. they do.
However, if you want those bookmarks to be editable or configurable within your instance, like you'd have to have an extension or some sort of way to get the data out.
Yes.
So it's cool to see that stuff.
The way that I always think about it is kind of like how the ServiceNow mobile is, where I'm an admin. I want to create that experience in ServiceNow where in my mind it should live.
Yeah.
But I want to bring that to the person. And, I think in general, if ServiceNow is really going to get serious about enterprise, they should, develop their own browser or something where it's just got that tight coupling to really bring a good experience.
I don't understand what their own browser would give them other than the ability to change the aesthetic of the browser.
You get control over it though.
Control over what part of it that they don't already have control over because it's a web page?
Being able to highlight, and that's a good question. No, I'm glad you think about it. In my mind, I always think about, all right, if I want to bring an experience to somebody, I want to be able to control the window that they're going through with that experience versus, everything is a web page. Like, I don't know if you've ever used Arc browser, for example. Yeah, it's a great, cool, clean browser. It's really neat.
Yeah. There's a Firefox-based one now, too, called something else.
Is there? But when I think about, hey, I'm doing
Zen.
work.
It's called Zen. There's a browser called Zen, which is a lot like Arc was. Arc is now different because they sold to Atlassian, I think, or something.
No, that was somebody else who sold to Atlassian.
I don't know. Arc did something funny. Whatever. I'm interrupting.
No, but I will give you a good example of edge encryption, for example. Right? The idea with it is I want to encrypt data outside of ServiceNow, but then load it to ServiceNow. Well, you either had to do a proxy, or if you had your own browser, that encryption decryption can run at the browser level.
Right. But then the person needs to have their own computer and their own browser, and needs to get past the installation security stuff of that company, right? So you'd have to obviously work with the channels at that place to get that stuff. But you're not wrong. If you had a browser that was your own, you could add features like that.
You can add features to it. You could deliver experiences right to it.
Yeah, you could add.
In my mind,
you could build in video calls on top of it. That would be a thing I would think would be a super easy add with the WebRTC protocol.
Think about
right?
Exactly.
But even companies that have the browser, like Google Chrome, right? They don't make it that way. And Microsoft Edge, even with their Teams product, they don't make it that way. So I'd be curious to see what your expectations would be of actual implementation details. But I don't know what those would be because but I think it's really important to see companies like Arc and like Zen reimagining how the browser works.
Yes.
Right?
I just think
it's high time that those things
I just think in terms of, if someone is doing the work in ServiceNow and we can just make it better by taking kind of the Apple philosophy of we want to try to, manage and control the experience as much as possible, the browser makes sense. Now, you bring up a lot of good points. Yeah.
I mean, that's just how I think about that stuff, though. But I'm very curious to see how that all works.
Maybe it's a Gen X thing because I brought up to a friend of mine who was Gen X. He's like, man, that would be great. But then I talked to people who are younger and they're like, why? There's do you want to be in the browser business? Because the browser business is tough and this and this and this. I'm like, no, I don't want to be in
AI company seems to have their own browser now too.
Well, so ServiceNow's talking about being the AI company. Shouldn't I have a browser then?
It has a bunch of security problems and issues. So there's a ton of extra risk when you implement your own browser.
There is, I'm not going to lie, but I think there's a lot more reward to it. And, the other thing too is it'd be the expectation of this is an enterprise browser. People are not going to use it for personal use. It is.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have that control over people because people will be like, I work from home. I'm going to use the browser that I want to use. ServiceNow have to limit how it works then. And then it's well, I can't go to my work resources with this thing. It gets complicated, right?
Well, and that's the thing where that's also assuming a lot of people who work in tech just use one browser. I constantly have multiple browsers up, different browser brands.
Me too. But I generally stick with one browser, and I just go with incognito windows and different profiles for that browser because I like it so much.
And that's the other thing too. Like if you're an admin and you need to do impersonation, wouldn't it be great to be able to do an impersonation that creates a whole new session in that tab and not have to do the whole incognito logging in separate? Little things like that.
Yeah, that would be nice. You're not wrong.
I don't know. It is a dream of mine.
Go for it, man.
I'm working on the extension. I'm working on the extension.
You can make your own. You could have it vibe code a browser, its own browser, right? And then, but to make it have that tight coupling, you'll have to change how like the extension system works or disable things. Like, what is it about the browser you don't want it to have happen? And if it's that impersonation thing, well, now you have to like interject multiple profiles onto a single set of tabs, right? And then pass cookies from one to the other, but not screw it up.
I just feel, you know what? I just feel like when Google went into Chrome business, they were like, all right, we want to control the Google experience. This makes sense for us.
I think they wanted to stop being held back by Microsoft and Firefox.
That's another thing too. Ironically, I still love the fact that the Microsoft Edge ended up going to a Chromium-based browser.
Yeah.
That's my dream, man. That's what I think.
I'm not trying to crush it. Go for it, man. You try to build.
You know what? It's fine.
I would encourage you if you want to do it. I know you're using Windsurf, and I saw you're using and when you had up your session, it in the list of large language model of your selection, it looked like you're using OpenAI's Codex, low thinking or whatever it was.
Yeah, that fits me in low thinking for the most part.
Well, I mean, anyways, I've been messing with a bunch of different of these tools, and like I'm a big proponent of a tool called OpenCode, and you can plug it into your GitHub Copilot credentials to do all the things you want to, and it's a terminal user interface. But it builds things really, really phenomenally, and you can tell it which provider, whether that's Anthropic, whether that's OpenAI, whether that's whatever other company, Open Router, and you can say, I want to use Claude Code, I want to use OpenAI's Codex, I want to use Kimi 2.5, I want to use whatever. And it's interesting to see how these different models perform, considering how much they cost. And what I think is very cool about all of the things I just named is I can tell you what it costs for me to do any of these things, and I don't have to have a meeting and figure that stuff out. That always just makes me happy.
It is a very interesting time to be in tech, to watch this play out. Needless to say, though, I am pretty on board with it. Maybe I'll make my own browser and sell it to ServiceNow for a few million or whatever and call it a day, and I'm going to be laughing at you, or I'm just going to waste my time. Either way.
I mean, you won't know if you don't try.
Once again, I just go back to the simple philosophy of like, look, if you want a really great experience, you've got to control that technology all as close to the person as possible. The browser is that next level. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, you could go all the way up to the operating system.
I've actually thought about that, thinking, could we just have a ServiceNow phone, Now phone?
I mean,
or ServiceNow, Chromebooks.
Discovery would be a lot easier.
You could.
I'm just saying, right? If you had your own operating system or your own OS for the phone, like you could have that thing checking in, like, hey,
asset management.
I can see that Slobodnik is out there in Minneapolis with Jace.
I mean, think about it. If you had something like that, you could have almost like a mesh network of like ACCs, like the agent client collectors.
Yeah.
Pulling information of other assets, what it's talking to. I mean, there really is a lot you can do when you start to think about it that way. But
yeah, and if you learn nothing else, like you can make a repo, you can make your own Linux distro, right? Like that's totally a thing, and you can make it work like it's not a Linux distro, so people don't hate it, and that's cool.
Make it all ServiceNow.
I'm just saying, you just got to go for it, man.
I'm going to email Amit about this. By the way, I emailed him. He did email me back too. He's another person. He's
who?
Amit. Is it Amit? Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know.
Chief
CFO?
Product guy, COO.
Oh, okay, COO.
President. I don't know. The guy from Google, who's very nice. I just never pronounce his name right. Sorry.
You're good. Yeah. Well,
all right.
Exciting. Well, awesome. One thing I wanted to stack. Null Stack Alpha is coming up April 16th. If you're not coming, I don't know why. It's free, 3 hours. It's a tiny thing, 15-minute sessions, and there's a networking component built into it.
Awesome.
So there's I think 9 sessions right now, and lots of great talks by different people. A number of ServiceNow MVPs of 2026 even. I don't know if you saw that those were announced the other day.
I saw some of them, yeah. I saw people posting about it on LinkedIn. I'm like, all right, good for you.
Yeah, I keep track. I haven't updated my lists, but and then the knowledge sessions are still only at 268 knowledge sessions for K26. I thought it'd be more. They haven't posted them all yet.
I have heard they're maybe not wanting to
do as many.
Try to keep things a little bit better, of more opportunity for networking and not overwhelm people. Possibly.
Yeah, 700 sessions is a lot.
So I don't know. We'll see. But I still expect it to be a pretty great event. I don't care about Backstreet Boys, but I saw Nine Inch Nails last week in concert. I saw Weezer at SCO, so I'm feeling pretty good about the concert selection I've been seeing lately.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a fantastic event and fantastic networking.
Yes, I'm not. Yeah, all I'll say is, being Gen X, I don't do Backstreet Boys. I like to hang tough. There we go. That's my joke.
Hey, they're still, they're a classic now. They're not.
They are.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, it's been fun catching up.
All right.
Next week, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that thing I asked you to check out, and then I hope to see it in Null Stack Alpha in April. But we'll meet before then.
Absolutely. Well, once again, thanks for joining us. This has been Michael,
and this is Jace. See you guys next time.
All right. Bye for now.